My name is Aima. I'm 26 years old, and for most of my life I thought I was the good daughter, the one who held things together when everyone else was falling apart. I grew up in a house where silence was louder than shouting, where every word carried weight, and where my worth was measured by how obedient I could be. My father is strict, military strict, the kind of man who speaks in commands, not conversations. My mother? She's quiet, almost invisible, like she melted into the wallpaper years ago. I was always the overachiever, the one with the grades, the scholarships, the career everyone bragged about, but none of it ever felt like mine. I went into law partly to impress my father, partly to feel like I had armor in a family where power was everything. Still, my family never saw me for who I was, just what I could provide. And then there's my brother, Denial. Golden child, forever reckless but somehow adored. No matter how many times he messed up, failed businesses, toxic relationships, debts piling up, my parents always protected him. And somehow, I became the safety net. Aima will fix it. Aima will figure it out. By the time I was 24, I had already bailed him out of 2 lawsuits, covered his loans, and even gave up part of my savings to keep him afloat. It wasn't out of love, it was survival, because if Denial fell, the wrath would come down on me for abandoning family. I told myself this was normal, that I owed them my loyalty, but deep down, something inside me was starting to crack. The real turning point started small, like most betrayals do. I had just landed a huge case at work, something that could put my name on the map. My colleagues celebrated, and for once, I felt like I wasn't just existing for my family. I called my parents that night, hoping maybe they'd be proud. Instead, my father's voice was flat. Denial is in trouble again. We'll talk when you come home. That sentence hit like a bullet. No congratulations, no acknowledgement, just another burden waiting for me. When I walked into the house, the air was thick, heavy. My mother sat wringing her hands, Denial pacing like a trapped animal. And then I heard it, he had racked up a massive debt, and the creditors were threatening legal action. Just fix it, Aima, Denial snapped, like I was his personal attorney/bank account. I remember staring at him, my blood boiling. Fix it? Didn't he realize everything I'd already sacrificed? That night, I called my best friend, Sana. She was the only one who ever told me the truth. Aima, this isn't family, it's exploitation. They're draining you dry. Her words rattled me, but deep inside, I still couldn't let go. Because if I said no, if I drew the line, I knew what would happen. I'd become the villain in my own family's story. And maybe that's why I didn't see the betrayal coming. The betrayal revealed itself like a knife I didn't see coming. One morning, I got an official letter, my name printed across the top in cold, black ink. A court summons. My stomach dropped. My first thought was that it had to be work-related, maybe some clerical error, but when I opened it, my hands started shaking so hard I almost dropped the paper. My own family, my father, my mother, and Denial had filed a petition against me. They were contesting property rights, claiming I had manipulated my grandfather into signing assets in my favor before he died. I felt the blood drain from my face. That property wasn't even mine, it had been left to me legally in my grandfather's will. The man adored me, probably because I was the only one who sat with him during his last years when everyone else was too busy. When I confronted them that evening, my father didn't even look ashamed. His jaw was tight, his voice firm. You don't understand, Aima. Family comes first. Your brother needs this more than you. You'll be fine, you always are. I couldn't believe it. They weren't just asking, they were stealing, dragging me to court to strip me of something my grandfather wanted me to have. My voice cracked. So I'm just your wallet? Your lawyer? Your scapegoat? Now you're dragging my name through court? Denial had the audacity to smirk. Don't be dramatic. You'll win anyway, you always do. Then maybe you can share. I wanted to scream, cry, collapse, but I didn't. I just stared at them, realizing in that moment that they didn't see me as their daughter or sister. They saw me as a resource, a tool, and tools can be used up. The court hearings began like a nightmare I couldn't wake from. Walking into that room, facing my own blood across the aisle, it felt surreal, like betrayal was stamped across my skin for everyone to see. Their lawyer painted me as manipulative, selfish, power hungry. Every lie felt like a slap. And the worst part? My parents sat there, stone-faced, letting strangers shred my reputation. During breaks, I'd lock myself in the restroom, gripping the sink so hard my knuckles turned white. I'd whisper to myself, "You're a lawyer. You know the system. You can win this." But the truth was, the pain cut deeper than any legal battle. Sana never left my side. One evening after a brutal session, she grabbed my shoulders. "Aima, you can't fight them with just logic. You need to remind them who you really are. Make them see the strength they underestimated." That's when the thought first sparked, quiet but fierce. They wanted to corner me, to take everything my grandfather left me, but they had forgotten one thing: I wasn't just a lawyer. I was something far more dangerous. Something they didn't even know about. I'd spent years keeping a part of myself buried, hidden even from my family. To them, I was just the dutiful daughter, the lawyer, the fixer. What they didn't know was that while they were busy bleeding me dry, I had been quietly building something of my own. 2 years earlier, I had been recruited into a government-backed special legal task force, a position so classified, even my colleagues only knew fragments. I wasn't just another lawyer. I held a rank that carried weight in courts, with access to sealed documents and investigative power that most attorneys could only dream of. I hadn't flaunted it, because I never wanted to intimidate or use it against people I loved. But sitting in that courtroom, listening to denial lie under oath while my parents nodded along, I felt something inside me shift. They thought they were playing chess, but they didn't realize I was holding the entire board. That night, I stayed up until dawn, pulling every record, every transaction, every shady deal denial had buried under other people's names. What I found made my hands tremble: offshore accounts, falsified contracts, bribes. It wasn't just carelessness, it was fraud, enough to bury him for years. I didn't want revenge. I wanted justice. But most of all, I wanted them to finally understand I wasn't the fragile daughter they could drag around like a pawn. I was the storm they never saw coming. The next hearing was different. I walked in calm, my heels echoing sharp across the marble floor. My family sat across from me, whispering smugly, certain they had cornered me. I didn't even look at them. Instead, I handed the judge a thick folder: evidence, cross-referenced and airtight. The silence in the courtroom as the judge flipped through those pages was deafening. My father's jaw tightened, denial shifted in his seat, sweat beading at his temple. Finally, the judge spoke. "These documents suggest financial misconduct far beyond this property dispute. Are you prepared to testify to their authenticity, Miss Aima?" My voice didn't shake. "Yes, Your Honor." The shift was instant. The narrative they had painted of me as selfish crumbled in seconds. Suddenly, they weren't the victims. They were potential criminals. Afterward, in the hallway, my father grabbed my arm, his voice low and dangerous. "Where did you get that?" I pulled free, staring him dead in the eyes. "You raised me to fight, didn't you? Congratulations. I learned from the best." For the first time in my life, he had no response, no command, no anger, just silence. And in that silence, I realized something: they weren't invincible. They were terrified of me. The fallout was immediate. Denial's lawyer tried to stall, but the judge had already ordered a deeper financial investigation. Suddenly, the case wasn't about me, it was about him. My brother, the golden child, the one they protected at all costs, was now under the microscope. At home, the atmosphere turned poisonous. My mother called me one night, her voice breaking. "Aima, please, you don't understand. He's your brother. If he goes down, our whole family will collapse." I wanted to scream, "What about when you tried to collapse me?" But I didn't. Instead, I sat in silence, gripping the phone until my hand ached. She wasn't calling because she cared about me. She was calling because she was afraid of losing him. A few days later, Denial showed up at my apartment, drunk and furious. He pounded on the door until I opened it, his eyes bloodshot. "You think you're better than me now? Hiding behind your fancy badge, making me look like a criminal?" I stood firm, even though my heart was racing. "You did that yourself, Denial. I just stopped covering for you." For the first time, I saw fear flicker behind his anger, and then it hit me: he had never truly been strong. He just lived off the strength others gave him, and I had finally cut the cord. By the next hearing, the courtroom was a battlefield of whispers and stares. My father's reputation, once untouchable, now hung by a thread. Denial avoided my eyes, his lawyer scrambling to negotiate. My mother sat small and trembling, clutching her scarf as if it could shield her from the truth. When the judge announced that criminal charges against Denial would be pursued separately, the silence was suffocating. I should have felt victorious, but instead, a strange heaviness settled over me. Winning didn't feel like triumph, it felt like mourning. After the session, my father cornered me outside. His voice was hoarse, almost desperate. "You've destroyed this family." I swallowed hard, my chest tight. "No, you destroyed it the day you chose greed over love." His eyes, once so sharp and commanding, looked old, defeated, and in that moment, I realized something. Revenge doesn't heal wounds, it just exposes them. Back at home, I collapsed into Sanaa's arms, shaking with exhaustion. She stroked my hair gently. "You did what you had to do, Aima. Sometimes breaking free means letting everything else break, too." And she was right. My family wasn't just fractured, it was gone. But for the first time in my life, I wasn't afraid. I was free. The final hearing was brutal. Weeks of evidence, witness testimonies, and investigations had stripped every layer of pretense away. My family sat across from me looking like strangers, worn, angry, and beaten down by the truth. The judge's voice rang clear. "The will stands. The property belongs solely to Aima. Furthermore, given the evidence of financial misconduct, the matter of Mr. Denial's accounts will proceed to criminal trial." The gavel hit the wood, sharp as a gunshot. It was over. For a second, the room spun. I had won, but as I looked at my father's stone face, my mother's tears, and my brother's glare, it didn't feel like victory, it felt like ashes. Afterward, Denial hissed as he brushed past me. "You'll regret this. You've got no family now." I didn't flinch. My voice was steady, almost calm. "I never truly had one, did I?" Walking out of that courtroom, the air felt different, lighter, yet heavy all the same. The cost of freedom, I realized, is sometimes everything you once held dear. And maybe that was the price I had to pay. In the weeks that followed, silence became my companion. My phone no longer buzzed with my mother's anxious calls or my father's clipped commands. Denial was too busy fighting his own demons in court to bother me. For the first time in years, I woke up without the crushing weight of obligation. I redecorated my apartment, bright colors, fresh plants, sunlight pouring in. Little by little, I built a life that was mine, not borrowed, not demanded. One evening, over tea, Sanaa asked me if I regretted it. I thought about it long and hard. Did I regret breaking my family apart? Did I regret exposing my brother, shaming my parents, standing against them in court? No, I said softly, because if love comes with conditions, if it requires you to sacrifice your dignity, your peace, your very identity, then it isn't love, it's control. I learned that blood alone doesn't define family. Loyalty, respect, and love do. Sometimes, the people you're born to will betray you the deepest. And sometimes, you have to become your own protector, your own family. So here's the lesson I want anyone listening to remember. Never let guilt or obligation chain you to people who don't value you. Real family doesn't take everything from you, they help you stand taller. And when you finally break free, you'll realize the power you had all along. And I, Aima, will never let anyone take that power from me again.